Hi, and welcome to Screens in Focus podcast, where we share and connect as we spotlight our favorite shows and movies. I'm Diana, and today we're talking about Dead to Me, Season 3. Debbie is back to join me. Hi, Debbie. How are you?
Well, hi, Diana, and thank you for having me back.
Of course. I had to have you back. We had so much fun.
We did. I loved it. It was so much fun, and it really made me watch this series a little bit closer and take some good notes and just enjoy it tremendously so that I could share my thoughts.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah.
And of course, this show, Dead to Me, is about these two women who become friends.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought, wouldn't it be fitting to have a question of the day that pertains to friendship? So I thought, there are so many TV shows and movies about friendship. So the question of the day is, what is your favorite TV show or movie about friendship?
Well, I'll share with you my recent favorite TV show about friendship. The newest one that's out is season 2 of FireFly Lane with Katherine Heigl. And is it Sarah Chalk?
I think so. Yes, Sarah Chalk.
Is that how you say her last name? Complete opposites, with a friendship spanning, I'm not even 100% sure, but I think it's 30 or 40 years, maybe even more. Complete opposites that you would never think that they would be friends, but it shows them through thick and through thin, loss and loves. Reminds me of a lot of my friendships. And honestly, friends who know way too much about me, to be honest with you. What about you? What?
Oh my gosh, there's so many, and I'm so glad you said that because I like Firefly. That's a tongue twister.
You cannot say it 3 times in a row.
Firefly Lane. Yep. There we go.
There you go.
That's a good one. I was thinking, my mind went to older things. I thought about Thelma and Louise.
Yeah.
I thought about The Odd Couple.
Oh my
which
goodness.
Is so old, but that's not one of my favorites. But it just, it went through my mind because a lot of these have to do with people that are opposite from each
Absolutely.
other and how people complement each other and how it works. And you see these different things. But you know what I really love is Grace and Frankie, Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin. I love that show. It was what drew me to Netflix originally.
Yeah.
Because they were on it and they're hilarious actresses as it is. And just to see them together and how opposite they are and how they came together or come together, it's just a really, and being an older generation, they just crack me up. They're so funny. So I really love that show. And did I just say Friends or did I not say Friends?
But yes.
Yeah. So Friends is so great because, right, it's about friendship and I just love it. It's my thing that I watch every time when I'm going to sleep. I put it on.
Do you really?
How
funny.
It's my lullaby.
Yeah.
It's my lullaby.
It's one of my favorite shows. I could watch every episode over and over again and still enjoy it 100%.
Yeah, I know. It's so fun. It's so good. That's why it's so popular and it's still playing.
Yeah.
Okay, so friends out there, let us know what you think. What is your favorite TV show or movie about friendship? We would love to know. You can leave us a comment on social media, our website, or email at screensinfocus@gmail.com. Would love to hear from you. The links are in the show notes. Okay, Debbie, I love this show, Dead to Me. It's
me too.
So funny. And I can't recall what actually drew me to watch it in the first place, but when I watched the first episode, I was sucked in. So what about you? How did you come to know about Dead to Me?
Well, I'm a big Netflix freak. I recently don't even have regular TV as well. So I've been waiting for this show to come back. I'd heard about it coming back for the 3rd season. But as for the original, when it came out, I don't even really know what drew it to me, but I think it's got to be Christina Applegate. But really, it's probably Linda Cardellini. I love both actresses so much. They're both so different, so expressive, so funny. They fit those roles perfectly. I love the premise of the show. I was excited to see what they would each bring to their character. I'm a huge fan. I think the first show, when you said Grace and Frankie might have been your reason why you were watching Netflix. Yeah. I know for a fact the reason why I started watching Netflix is Bloodline with Kyle Chandler and Linda Cardellini. And I've never really been a big Linda Cardellini fan. I think she was in Freaks and Geeks. I never got into that show.
I love that show, by the way. I just watched it like maybe 2 years ago because Brooke had said she was watching it. And and she said it was based on the 80s. So I turned it on. I'm like, oh my gosh, I totally missed this. However many years ago it was, like 10, 15 years ago that was made, maybe even longer. I don't even know. Yeah. It's actually really good, but I love 80s.
I love 80s
you
shows
know,
too.
Debbie,
yes.
I
know
80s.
You love the 80s.
I just had an 80s party, people.
Yes, you did.
It's a fun show.
Yeah.
And was also in
She was in ER, absolutely. Yep. So she was my favorite. And then, of course, we've all followed Christina Applegate through Married with Children, which, oh my God, her character Kelly was a crack up. So inappropriate and so wrong, but so funny. And then I loved her in Bad Moms. Oh my gosh, she was the worst in that. She was such a bitch.
I don't think I watched it.
Oh my goodness, you have to see. Well, I think there's a Bad Moms 1 and 2. I think Bad Moms 1 is probably better, but you got to see both of them if you haven't. It's a great holiday movie as well. Put that on my list of holiday movies to watch. But then really one of my favorite movies that people probably don't even remember is called The Sweetest Thing with Cameron Diaz and Christina Applegate. I can't remember who the third person is in there. Anyways, I was so looking forward to this show, Dead to Me. Seems so different and unique. Was looking for it to push the limits and really just see what they brought to the table. And they really did. It was different and unique and fun and funny and sad and a tearjerker and yet weird. I mean, anyways, when they figured out, it threw me for a loop. And I just really completely, to be honest with you, the finale is a bittersweet finale, season 3. And hold on to your seat. It's not quite as suspenseful. If you haven't seen them, you have to watch them. Not quite as suspenseful as I think season 1 and 2 were, but it kind of wraps things up really nicely. Yeah. And sort of how they ended it. And I say that with a ha-ha because the ending kind of still left me hanging, to be honest with you. I was like, wait, that's it? Oh my God.
Well, anyways, in a good way. I think
in a good way. Yes. Yeah. These shows. Anyway, so you tell me what you think about it.
I love both these actresses so much. They're so good. They are good. And like you had said, Christina Applegate, they're both really good, but I think me too, I lean toward it because of Christina Applegate.
Yeah.
And she's just so funny as Jen. All her swearing, it just is a crack up. She does it so well.
She does.
And her character is quick thinking and she's abrasive but she's also to the point. And I also think even with all those things, she's also endearing somehow because you would think, who wants to be around this person? She's always blunt and you're so abrasive, but there's just something about her. I would want to be around her. There's something kind of cool. And then with Judy, she's kind and optimistic. She can be impulsive, but she's very selfless. And so just together, they just make the greatest team. And I love that. And we had talked earlier, we tend to like the friendship shows where there's opposites that somehow, grow with each other. And so that happens here because they are totally opposites.
Absolutely.
But I love it. I love watching them.
I'd be curious to count how many times she says the F word, especially in season 3.
Oh my goodness. I wonder. It's hilarious.
Oh, it's so funny.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So I'm going to give just a brief recap of 1 and 2.
Okay.
And then we'll go into season 3. So these women came together at a grief counseling circle in season 1. Jen's husband was killed, and we find out soon enough that Judy was in the car that struck and killed Jen's husband. And then the secrets, lies, and mayhem begin, as does their friendship. Mm-hmm. And then in season 2, Jen ends up killing Steve, Judy's ex-fiance. It's so complicated.
So
I know,
weird.
isn't it so funny?
It's such a story.
And he has a twin brother, Ben, who shows up and is played by James Marsden. And of course, the relationship deepens between these two women in season 2. And the finale of that season leaves us with another hit and run, with Ben as a drunk driver and Jen and Judy in a dire situation.
Yep.
So it leads us into season 3. And so we're going to start with episode 1. We'll talk then about their characters and their relationships, and then we'll get into the emotional finale. Okay, so episode 1, Jen and Judy are at the beach. Yeah. And of course, it appears to be some sort of dream because reality hits and Jen is being wheeled into the ER after a hit and run. So tell me, what did you think of this first episode?
Well, it was telling that, they picked up right where they left off. So I was glad that they do that. Some of these shows, they have a gap and you're like, what happened during all this time? Yeah. So I love that they picked right up. But at first I'm like, wait, is this a dream? Is this reality? Did she die? What happened? And then of course we see her being wheeled in. It was a dream sequence and she's been hurt. And then also this will come up later too, but the damn bird keeps coming up in flashbacks, which later, we remember was the supposed weapon that was used to kill Steve, who is, Judy's ex-fiance. Anyways, when they're in the hospital, what I loved about it is the camaraderie between the two. So funny. I don't know if you caught this, but there was a key phrase. I forget if it was Jen or Judy that said they didn't want to have the CT scan. And then she said, my body, my choice. Like, the writers are brilliant to throw that in there. That's current events.
Right. Yeah. Totally
what we're going on in the world today. So smart and funny. Any other show, different than any other show out there. So kudos to the writing staff for adding that in. So I love that. What about you? What'd you think about that first dream sequence and where they ended up?
Well, I so agree with you. The writing is so good, so clever. It's hilarious. That scene in the hospital where Jen says, okay, I'm going to swear here because that's what was in there.
That's what was in there.
I don't remember exactly what they said, but Jen says, just get the fucking doctor. And then Judy's all, can you get the fucking doctor? And says it really sweetly.
Yes.
And then the nurse says, I'll look for the fucking doctor.
So funny.
Because they all swear. It's just, oh my God, it's hilarious. It just cracks me up.
It was perfect.
And it's just their deliveries, right? It was, each of them delivered it a different way. And it just worked because they were all talking about the same thing. And so, and that's just the beginning. And there was there's so much subtlety in what these actresses do. And I think that's the key. That's what we all pick up on. That's what we love. Because one is talking and the other one is saying these little things or giving reactions right behind it. And I'm like, this is so good and so hilarious. Whoever's directing it, I don't know if it's the actresses themselves, which I think a lot of it is, but it might be directional too. So I love this first episode. I feel like it really moves the story forward. After the hit and run, Jen says they are cursed. And then Judy says there is a reason. And their personalities and perspective really are shining through in this episode. And I love that with the writing, there's no words that are wasted. Everything has a purpose. Yeah. There are these foreshadowings and double meanings. It's just so smartly written. And then they share their backstories with their mothers, which gives their character more depth. And that's when they have the scans. And see, even this minor thing, right? They have the accidents, they have the scans, which just seems normal. But then that scan gives Judy her diagnosis, well, not diagnosis, but that there's something there.
Right.
Of course, Jen is the one who gets it. But it's so purposeful, right?
Yes.
We didn't know that. We're just thinking, oh, she's getting a scan, and then it comes into play later on. So I just think that all of that is so well done. Of course, we see Charlie and Ben. We see, how Ben is reacting to what he's done.
Yes.
And both their relationship together and how Charlie drives Ben to the hospital, and Ben's
But Ben doesn't even, Ben knows he had the accident, but he doesn't know he hit them at that point.
True.
Right?
True. And it slowly reveals itself.
Yes.
But isn't that what's so funny? Because as each season we see even themselves realize certain things, and then they're trying to cover it up.
Yes. There's so much cover up.
Yeah. And so here Ben is trying to cover up his wrongdoing.
Right.
It's just so funny, while the other two are trying to cover up their past wrongdoing. So it's just funny because it just keeps going and going and going. And Charlie is he's such a great addition to this whole,
such a good
to all of
actor.
them, because sometimes he has to be the same one that says, what's going on? Tell me the truth. I need to know what's going on here. But one of the main things that we see that begins in this episode, it's in the whole series, is that Ben and Jen are having flashes of their actions. So guilt really plays a major role in this whole series. Okay, so let's talk about Jen and Judy and their relationship. And so how do you view them and their relationship?
Well, I think, again, we talk about, how opposites attract. And I think that's kind of true in real life too. But, their relationship comes from a horrible consequence. They meet in this guilt. I mean, in the, where they met in the beginning.
The grief circle?
The circle, the grief counseling circle. So they meet there, and, if anybody's ever been through any kind of grief counseling or what have you, it's not easy to actually make friends with people because everybody's going through their own thing. So for them to be able to have that bond and to meet up and then become the kind of friends that they were, you cheer for it because they've both been through so much. You can tell they're both so hurt. They've been through so much. When you mentioned Thelma and Louise as being best friend shows, and I kind of liken them to the Thelma and Louise of this time era,
Yeah.
Judy is
in a comedic sense.
In a comedic sense, absolutely. Way different, but just that they're both so different and unique, and yet they have this bond, and they don't even know at this point what their bond is going to be like as it grows throughout their time frame until, the end. Judy is so not naive. We know that. But she's so, like you said, she's so sweet and she's kind and generous. I mean, she works with older people in a care facility. That's what she does. Yeah. We continue to see that gentle and loving side. And then I feel like Jen finally opens up her walls and she kind of feeds off of that side of Judy. And because Jen's personality is super strong and hard, and she's got these walls up, but yet Judy comes into her life, and you can't not kind of start to change the way you see things and the way you feel when you're around somebody like that. So we see this season really, even though she still says the F-bombs and she's still bitchy in her own way and what have you, we really see that those walls start to break down. And I believe it's because of this friendship with Judy. And I believe that changes her future forever. So
it does. It totally does. So I realized how altruistic Judy was this season. It really hit me, I think, the second time that I watched this through. I mean, yes, we see how kind she is, but I didn't realize how she put everybody above herself, their well-being. I noticed it so much. Here she's the one who has cancer, but she's worried about how it impacts other people. And also not just that, but somebody would bring up something, their own issue, and it wasn't I can't even pinpoint the exact thing, but I just noticed it so much. Somebody else would say what was happening in their life or what was happening right now. She goes, oh, that must be really horrible for you.
Mm-hmm.
And she's just recognizing what they're going through. And but what I do like and that the writers did with this is that they do show how she's feeling.
Yeah.
They do show moments where she's trying to figure out how to navigate, how to move forward.
Right.
Which I really appreciated.
Yeah.
Because a lot of shows don't do that.
Yeah.
Or they do it basically as a reaction or an action but with this show, I feel like we had those moments where Judy would just look off or stare up into the ceiling or the stars or whatever it might be. And I thought, oh, I'm going to jump forward because I just thought of a moment when she finds out that Jen is pregnant.
Oh.
And
yes.
she runs and jumps into the pool and screams in the pool.
Oh.
Because it just is killing her because she wanted a baby so bad.
She wanted a baby so bad. Yeah.
And she had the miscarriage and she just screams in that. She wants to scream, but she doesn't want to have.
She doesn't want to have Jen see this.
Yes.
Right?
Exactly.
Or anybody
exactly.
really.
Yes.
So she's keeps that to herself. And you're right. That moment was something else.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's their relationship is just it's just really special, and these people are really special. And in episode 5 is when Judy finally tells Jen that she has cancer and doesn't want to be a burden. And Jen says, "F you, you're not a burden. You are my friend." Well, she says effing friend, and I would do anything for you, anything. And they were just crying there.
Yeah.
Of course, my eyes were all welled up with tears. I'm sure yours were too,
Absolutely.
Debbie. And then they hug, and then Jen tells Judy everything will be okay.
Yeah.
Which is cool because it's kind of like you said that she's finally changing. Like she has to be there for her now and try to be as strong as she can.
Yeah.
Which is hard for her. And she doesn't want to show how she's feeling. And so later on, when she's with Detective Perez, she's in the car and she just
she breaks down. Yeah.
Yeah. Because she's like, I just don't want to lose her. And I don't want her to see me like this. So,
yeah.
Ooh, their friendship, man. That's
I know.
something. So were you surprised that they wrote in the cancer? Because at first I kept thinking, oh, is she going to get better? But then they played that whole out, right? And so
I was a little surprised, but at the same time, since it was, I mean, I knew it was the finale. I think the writers just decided to go in that direction, and it was probably between one of the two girls. And to be honest with you, with everything going on in Christina Applegate's life, in real life now, I don't know how I would have felt if it had been her. I mean,
I know.
Right?
That would have been, and this was written well before they knew.
Right. Well,
so,
we think, but I think she was going through this before.
She didn't, they say from out there, she didn't get her diagnosis until
after.
Started. Yeah, they were already filming. And then she had her diagnosis and they had to take like a big, huge chunk of months off.
Break, yeah.
For her to go through treatment and do all that. And then she came back. So
interesting. Yeah, you just never know, right?
I know, right? It is interesting because, like I said, first I was kind of surprised that they, had her have cancer and then they had her actually have stage 4 where it was
terminal.
Yeah. I mean, I guess she could have gone through more treatment and trials, but she didn't. But at the same time, this show deals with so much death and grief and emotion and comedy. So I guess why not put that in there, right? Because it is real life.
It is, absolutely. I mean, they tackle exactly what I think relationships go through, friendships go through. And I think that's why so many people could probably relate with it.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, let's talk about Jen and Judy's love interest.
Oh, goodness.
So let's talk about Ben with Jen. So James Marsden as Ben. Oh my gosh. He is so funny.
I've loved him forever.
He's great, but I had no idea how
His comedic
funny
chops.
he was.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's always like this nice looking guy.
Yeah.
And kind of can play a jerk sometimes because, he is this nice looking guy. But he was as Ben, like I think I saw him more as Steve in other roles.
Yeah.
And other out there. But his portrayal as Ben was so revealing to me. I loved how goofy he was. He wants to take this bubble bath.
Oh, that was so funny.
After they have sex, and then her son Charlie comes in, he just turns around, looks at him, that look on Charlie's face. And he's like, he's taking a bubble bath. And then when they take him to the grief counseling circle after he finds out they find his brother's body.
Yeah.
And they take him to the grief counseling circle, and he just is like wailing. He goes through all these range of emotions, and he says something like, "Oh, doesn't this person have any remorse?" And then Jen and Judy in the background are mumbling.
Oh my goodness.
Under their breath. "Oh yes, of course he does." Oh my gosh, it's just so funny. It's so funny. And then he sings a couple times. I'm like, oh my gosh, he can sing too. This is like incredible.
He's such a well-rounded actor. I love him.
I think
it's
he's
hilarious.
great. And then of course the pregnancy. And it's so funny because Christina Applegate says, "I'm 100 years old."
Yeah.
Pregnant.
That was hilarious.
Funny.
Yeah. Well, I also love James Marsden. We don't really see Steve too much except in flashbacks, and we know his character is a jerk. Well, he might have been, I think it was mostly in flashbacks. Well, season 1, we saw him. It's been a while since I've seen season 1.
I know.
We were just talking about that. It's like, oh my goodness, it's been so long. But he was such a dick. I mean, he really was. And then Ben is this goofy character. He's sweet, silly, has a huge heart. You're right. He wants to take a bubble bath, and he doesn't think anything silly about that. He's like, I just want to take a bath. Can I take a bath? And, he seems a bit dumb, a little bit dumb and naive. He's actually perfect for Judy, but he connects with Jen, interestingly enough. But I love that they've made him so different than his brother. One of my favorite scenes, it's so creepy, is the one where...
so creepy.
Well, it is. Jen, I don't know. I don't remember how she was knocking on those doors and trying to find a place to escape. And she ends up in this double doll room.
Oh, yes. That was so bizarre.
It was so weird out of nowhere. And she ends up in this double doll room. And then, she calls him on the phone. She's like, looking around, and these double doll, basically it's a room full of dolls from floor to ceiling, like a huge book room, but it's all these double dolls. So not just single dolls that the mom collected, but she's got 2 of everything, indicative of her sons. And I'm like, okay, wait a minute. To me, it was kind of sad in a way, because the mom's like trying to relive this life that she wished her boys had together. Because usually when you have twins, they're close and they're good boys together. And I don't know how they were when they were kids, but as adults, they're so opposite. They're not friends. We see that. I mean, at one scene, Steve punches Ben out because Ben's drunk. And, we see more about that later on in the accident when it comes to light what happened actually. And Ben's in the back of the car, and then, he kind of blames himself for that whole accident. But anyways, I just wonder, is the mom trying to relive this life with these 2 boys and wants these 2 dolls to remind herself her sons? Or is she just weird? Because she's actually kind of a weird character. I forget who this lady is. She's been in so many movies. She's such a good actress. She was in American Horror Story. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to look her up. What do you think about that whole situation between the relationship between them 2, and then also Judy and, is it Michelle, her love interest?
Yeah. So Judy gets to
rekindle.
Yeah, rekindle. Thank you. Yeah. This relationship with Michelle, which I thought was really cool. And they talk about the restaurant and about Michelle's mom. But, they finally get together. So I'm glad that Judy had some connection, some romantic connection in her life. But I did not like the way Michelle handled it.
No.
Because I can understand in a way, I guess. I don't know that I'm glad at least, I know I have mixed emotions thinking about this now that I'm thinking it through. Because I thought, wow, you kind of ignored it. But then I think, well, maybe she really had to assess and figure it out, because it was the next day, I assume, that she went and said, look,
and told
I have
her
to tell you I was awake. I guess she could have just not done that and just kept waiting. So I'm glad she at least did it. But
she had some consciousness to let her know I did hear this. But yet I didn't like that she did that either.
It kind of bothered me.
It was a moment that Judy really needed her. You could tell, and yet she wasn't there for her. That made me realize that she's not her person.
That was my same thought.
Yeah.
This isn't your person if that is her reaction.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm wondering if the reason that they did that was because she says, you have a friend, meaning, she says something to the fact, oh, but you have Jen. And she goes, yeah. And that's when it clicks for Judy. I have to tell Jen. Mm-hmm. And that's when she does tell Jen. So it was kind of her motivating factor for finally coming clean about her diagnosis. And also, if Michelle had reacted more supportively, then maybe
would they be together?
Yeah, they'd be together and she'd go off with her to the restaurant. So it had to sort of go this way anyway. So I guess that's what I have to say about their relationship.
Right.
Yeah, I do like that we see, at the end with Jen, and I know their names. I have to keep thinking, who am I talking about, Jen or Judy? Because they both start with a J.
Right.
But with Jen and Ben, that they finally, do move forward with each other and with the kids. I'm glad he gets along with the boys.
Oh, that's amazing. Like he's their big brother, right?
I know.
Yeah.
Right. It's good that they get along because they're going to have to.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the kids. What do you think of her kids?
Those kids, they were perfectly cast. So Charlie's the oldest son, and I think must be 16 because that grandma gives him the car and he didn't have a car before. So he must have just turned 16. He's the wisecracking troublemaker from school that you all love to hate. It just put it in a nutshell. Way more mature. He's been through a lot, but yet he's still a little jackass some ways. But he's somebody that really, he's helping Jen know, and I think he allows Jen to know, no matter what happens, he'll always look out for his little brother, even if he is a little shit. My favorite scene with the boys together is the one where they're on the couch and Jen's just kind of hanging out and they're watching something on their tablet. She's all, what are you guys doing? And they kind of have a moment where she starts throwing popcorn at them and what have you. And I think for a while, you just kind of think the family's a little bit broken and they're not together. And yet at that point, then you see that they've really made this family unit with the three of them. And I love that. So there's the younger son, and he's such a sweet son, such a sweet boy, Henry. Yeah. And that little actor that plays him is perfectly cast for that role. The scene where he's in the hallway and he's talking with Ben, and I can't remember what was going on, but he knows something's going on with Ben, and he can just feel his sadness. He knows that Ben's brother's body's been found and all this. And he says to Ben, he wants to give him something. And Ben's assuming he's going to give him something, a gift. And he just gives him this big hug. And it brought a tear to my eye, and I'm like, oh my God, that's why people have kids. That's why kids are so important to life, because they haven't been jaded.
Yes.
And they know that sometimes it doesn't take a thing or a comment. It's just love. Anyways, the kid knows that, and he does a great job at that. So I just love both those boys. What do you think about Charlie and Henry, Diana?
Well, it's funny, as you were talking about them, I realized how much Charlie is like his mom in a way. I don't know, because you said, oh, he's kind of like this little shit.
Yeah.
But I thought to myself, but he's endearing. And that's the same thing that I said about Jen in the beginning, right? Because they have this edge to them or whatever it is, harshness. I don't know what it is, but then they're just like, you can't help but like them. And it's hard to portray that. The fact that Jen can do it is awesome. But the fact that this young actor who plays Charlie can do that, that's saying a lot for him.
Absolutely.
And also for Henry too, being this sweet human being. So I just think that they're cast so perfectly, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
And Charlie's delivery just always cracks me up. The looks on his face. He's just so good because sometimes there are no words. He just turns around and gives this look. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so perfect. And then he and Ben have their whole relationship. But at the same time, I love that Charlie calls Ben out because at one point, Ben says, that's not me. Thank you for helping me, but that's not me. But then he gets drunk again. And Charlie says, you said that wasn't you, but that was you. You're doing it again. I'm like, oh my God. Like he's playing the adult sometimes.
Absolutely.
Even though he's a kid and he reacts like a kid. Sometimes he says the best lines to them. I also like when, at the end, when they're watching Henry do his dance and I'm jumping ahead, but we'll get to this later. But I just want to bring up this moment between Charlie and his mom. But she comes and sits down, and he hugs her, and he says, "I'm sorry, Mom." And I just think
it's so unlike him. That's not how he's been the whole time, and all of a sudden he does that. Very endearing.
It's just so cool. And when you have a child who sees, oh my gosh, it almost makes me emotional. But when you have a child who sees that and hugs you and you're like, oh my God, my son recognizes that I'm feeling this way and that I need this hug because he realizes how important, of course he knows how important Judy was to all of them. And so it was just very heartfelt. And so I just loved when Charlie did that. So I just think he's a great kid. But also what's funny is Henry and his friend Shandy.
Oh my gosh, that weird girl.
Okay, he's hanging out with this weird girl. It's
my goodness.
Funny. And she is perfectly cast too. It's just the looks on her face.
She's almost like a big bully.
I
don't know. Very bizarre.
She ties up the kid and the other mom allows it, whatever it is. It's just so crazy.
Random. So crazy.
It is random. It is so random. And I also want to bring up that the cranes that Judy made during chemo for Henry.
Oh, yeah.
And how she comes and talks with him about it and how I thought that was a sweet moment too.
Very
and I
sweet.
actually forgot about it until I saw it the second time. And Henry shares with her about the book and the 1,000 paper cranes and that he wants to save his wish for Judy so that she will be okay. And then he tells her that she is his other mom.
So sweet.
And that just gets her in her heart. And she's so thrilled with that. And it was just so sweet.
Such a moment.
Made her so happy. Yeah. Okay, so let's head into the season finale.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, man.
So much happened.
I know. So they go to Mexico on the lam. They run into the Greek mafia. They get to their destination, and Judy makes a choice.
Yeah.
And so let's talk about all that. What did you think of the finale, Debbie?
Well, okay, so you say they go to Mexico on the lam. They certainly do. At this point, Judy has gone to Nick, the police station, which is so funny. Laguna Beach would have this huge bustling police station, and there's this one police officer and the detective always in the room. I'm like, really? Come on, people. Anyways, it's so funny. But she's gone to the police officer because she can't live with the guilt any longer, and she knows she's going to die. So she tells him the truth or tells him what she believes is the truth, or wants him to believe is the truth, I guess I should say, because she wants to take the brunt of the blame so that Jen will be fine. And she goes and she says, I've done all this stuff. I've done it all. I was the murderer. I hid it from everybody. They don't know. They have no part of it. And she gets arrested and put on house arrest with a ankle bracelet.
Yeah.
And so anyways, they decide at that point then, her mom shows up and somehow convince her mom, right, to take the ankle bracelet instead and stay in California so they could take off to Mexico. I thought that was awesome. I didn't want it to end. I knew that this was the best way for them to end, was ending in where they kind of dreamed about taking a vacation. They talked about it so much. Judy had said she's never really had a vacation or hadn't taken a vacation, but yet she goes to this place that's owned by her ex-fiance, this gorgeous mansion. So funny. They walk in and Jen was saying it smells so musty, like a musty mansion. I'm like, what does a musty mansion smell like? Are you kidding me? Anyways, you mentioned this too. I think that it reminded me of the movie Beaches. I caught that as well. And best girl bonding, walking on the beach. I mean, they're ending their run at friendship with this amazing time together as two people, and everything that I would say, and just being present in the moment and spending time together. And of course, during this whole time, Judy's in a ton of pain. She's taking her gummies. She's probably high as a kite, but that's the way it is. Anyways, what was really important to me, I read a little bit about this, about Linda Cardellini and Christina Applegate's friendship in real life, and how Linda has really been there for Christina during this time. And I just thought to myself, this amazing bond that they formed over the years of filming this show is now coming to an end, and the realization that, they'll never get this time back. I mean, this time that they spent, performing and acting and together and all this stuff, they'll still be friends, obviously, but you'll never get this time back. And I'm sure that they were probably in that moment really actually feeling that way and crying. Honestly, Christina Applegate was the hottest chick that all the boys wanted to bang from the 80s. She now has this horrible, debilitating condition. Her face is puffy. She's gained some weight, but yet here she is. She says, screw it. I'm going to close out my career. Cause I don't know if she's going to come back and do anything, if she's capable of doing it. And she just puts herself out there. To me, she finishes on a super brave moment. She deserves an Emmy, and she's top notch in my books. So I love this finale. I think it was perfect. What did you think about it?
I love that, Debbie.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you brought up all that stuff. It's so true about her. And I hadn't really thought about it that way. So yes, I totally agree. And I really do hope she wins an Emmy. They both deserve an Emmy.
They do.
Show deserves an Emmy, the writing, the directing, everything. So I really appreciated in the beginning that it was on the beach and that Jen has this deja vu, and Judy says it's a good sign. What did they say? Or remind your brain to...
Oh, to remember?
To remember. Yeah, I think that's what she said.
Oh, a deja vu reminds your brain to remember. Yes.
Yeah, because they say it again later.
Yep. And they even said it. I think Charlie says it to Ben. Or no.
Yeah, Jen says it to Ben. Yes. Yeah, at the end when they're there.
They're at the pool.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
So Judy says that to Jen, and then later on, Jen says that to Ben. And I think that's what triggers her to
want to tell
eventually, get to that end thing that she says to him, which we'll get to in just a second. What I wanted to say about this was I love that we started on the beach in episode 1, and then they end on the beach. And I'm not sure if I brought up beaches in the episode yet, but I know me and you had talked about it previously. So, but yeah, it's so true. It reminded me of Beaches. Mm-hmm. If anyone has seen that movie with Bette Midler and Barbara Hershey, it's so good.
Yes.
Such a tearjerker.
Such a tearjerker.
About these two friends. And you hear the song in the background
I
playing.
know.
That's the glory of love. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this is so perfect. But the most moving scene of the finale was, and of the series, was when they're talking on that bed about Judy's decision to stay and not go home with Jen. I was there bawling with them. I felt it because it was so real. It was real.
Yeah.
Judy tells Jen, I've had the best time. And she says, no, I've had the best time with you.
Mm-hmm.
And they tell each other they love each other. I read that this was the very last scene that they acted together and that they cried more than what the scene called for.
I believe it.
Because it was reality for them. They loved doing the show together. They connected with each other through Christina's diagnosis.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know, like you said, we don't know if she'll be able to continue to act or not. I think I read somewhere that she may continue if maybe it's a smaller shoot or role.
Maybe not so
what it could
demanding.
be. Yeah, she won't know until she's going through it because,
right.
of course, she doesn't know how she feels.
Right.
And I read a lot of times she couldn't really walk. That's why she's in the bed a lot or sitting down.
Yep.
And I thought that they did a great job of shooting all of that because it fit with everything that she was doing. But anyway, it was just, I thought that Judy walking out, well, when Jen wakes up and looks for Judy and you assume Judy walked out, I'm thinking, did Judy walk into the ocean? And just not, I mean, is her body going to come up? I was
know.
Out.
Are we to assume she's on that boat? I mean.
And then I thought the boat. I'm like, what am I supposed to, what are we supposed to wonder? And I thought, I know she's supposed to walk away and that's fine, but eventually, where's Judy's body going to be?
I know.
If you have a friend, you can't help but thinking, should I go get her?
Right.
Do we have a funeral? Just all of that, right? Goes on in your brain. So, but for the series, I thought, okay, what it represents makes sense. And then we see Jen drive home in the car and then walks into the church that we spoke about earlier. And of course, everybody shows up there because everybody now has been exonerated because they think it's the Greek mafia who killed.
So crazy.
Was the cause of all of this.
Right.
So.
Tied it all up with a nice big bow. Blame it on the Greek mafia. My goodness. That was funny.
And then it ends like we were talking about just a few minutes ago about Ben and Jen talking, and the cliffhanger basically is,
oh my goodness,
that she tells Ben, I have to tell you something, ...
and scene. It's like, are you kidding me? You're going to end it like that? Oh my goodness.
It was good. I thought that was great though, right? Because, well, she's going to tell him.
She's going to tell him. She has to.
But let's just say there was another season. That would be a great way to
oh my God, that'd be a great way to segue in. So good.
But it tied up everybody and everything.
It did.
So, yeah. Okay, so did you have any other thoughts or tidbits on the episode?
Well, I love that they brought Katie Segal back. Katie Segal from Married with Children, played Christina Applegate's mom. And she was so smart. What a great way to wrap up, the story with her as Judy's mom and kind of see her in a different light and also just rekindle her friendship. And she's also very close to Christina Applegate. Actually, Christina Applegate recently got her star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And Katie Segal was there with her. So was Christina, so was Linda Cardellini. So I love that they had her in that scene. I like to believe that they brought her in the fold to kind of show, cause she wasn't a good mom to Judy at all. Right. But I'd like to believe that maybe in the future she'll be there for Jen and Jen's family. Who knows? Yeah. Another character I really liked, and I think he got some good screen time, was Nick the cop. He struggled with doing the right thing. That was his job. I think he felt obligated as a cop to do the right thing, but yet in the end, knowing that Judy was going to die and that this family's already been through so much, all of them have been through so much with all the loss, he just decided to let the girls do their thing and give them time away instead of putting her away in jail right away.
Yeah.
He really struggled with that in that conversation with Perez, and Perez, wasn't going to make a decision for him. She let him make the decision, and he did. So I like that scene. I did a lot.
Yeah.
What a guy. Any tidbits from you, Diana?
Well, I'm so glad that you brought up Katie, because when I was watching it, I forgot that they were
on the show
and Married with Children.
Oh,
It just didn't dawn on me because I'm just watching it.
Yeah.
And then when it ended, I'm like, wait a minute, they were in Married with Children together.
Yeah.
And so I just love that we saw them, able to act together in this, also because we keep talking about Christina Applegate and if she'll be able to act again. So it's really nice that they were able to reunite in this show.
I agree.
And so I thought that was really cool.
Really special.
And I did wonder for Jen how hard it must have been for her character dealing with her mom having cancer and then having her friend have cancer and then having them both die. Mm-hmm. It's just a hard thing when you have two really important people to you go through the same thing. I just think that the writing, oh man, they're just so good about bringing all these things together, and it just it draws people in. Mm-hmm. I also like Detective Perez. And what's funny is I don't remember when she flipped, because it was in season 2, but I don't remember when, because at first she was so out to get them.
Absolutely.
But I love her character. And then she starts hiding things.
Oh, yeah.
And calling Jen to coordinate stories and everything else. I'm like, oh my gosh.
I love this
real life.
Love the scene where she goes to where Glenn, what's his name? The FBI guy, where she goes to where he's been killed. And then the next scene, Moranis.
What's Moranis? There we go.
And then you see the next scene, her in her car. She's got lighter fluid and the folder with the information that he was gathering. She's going to go burn it up so that nobody could tie that to them. I love that. She was awesome.
I didn't even notice that.
Yes. So many little,
so good.
So great little things.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. I love it. It's so good. Oh, you had said it earlier, but I probably mentioned it too, but the cast, every single person, every person in the show was so good. And what I love about the FBI guy, it's Garrett Dillahunt, which I love.
Yes.
He's in Fear the Walking Dead, and he's in a million other shows.
Oh, he is in Fear the Walking Dead? I didn't know that.
He was.
Okay.
He was.
Okay.
Hope I'm not giving any spoilers to people. He was my favorite character in Fear the Walking Dead. Well, besides Lenny James.
Oh, okay.
But those two guys, oh my gosh. Yeah, he's so good. He's such a good actor. All right. So let's get to our segment, and the award goes to. So tell me, Debbie, what was your favorite quote, character, or moment?
Well, I mean, gosh, there's so many great scenes, but I would say my favorite funny little moment was when Ben was in jail. Of course, he's having to call collect. She answers, and they're running out of time, and he tells her he loves her, and then time elapses. And she still tells him, I love you, I'm pregnant, and I killed your brother. But, of course, he didn't hear any of that, right? But she wanted to get it off her chest so bad, so she did anyways. And that was funny. That was funny. The look on her face, she just looks in the camera and she's like, hello, I'm done. So funny. Anyways.
That's so funny.
That was a good moment for me.
Awesome. For me, I love the emotional scenes always. And so I would always pick those. But I wanted to bring up, because it is a comedy, I wanted to bring up a hilarious segment. And that was when Jen and Judy take the shrooms. It was so damn funny, especially the second time that I watched it. It was hilarious because they were laughing at each other. And during their trip,
yes,
they even talk about being scared for Judy and going through all these range of emotions. So it's like, even though they're in this comedy scene, they still have time to talk about something very true and emotional for them, which I really loved. And then Jen goes to the bathroom and Judy's all, don't look in the mirror.
Yeah.
And Jen goes to the bathroom and the very last thing she does, she looks up and then she sees herself.
Sees herself.
To her mother.
She sees her mom. Oh my gosh.
She sees her mom. And then she sees her mom almost like she's dead. Right?
Yeah.
Like she's all
she
gray
looked like
looking.
she was
looks
dead.
like a walker, a zombie. Then she comes out and what's so funny is you see her hands on the door, on the wall, like she can't walk.
Yes.
It's so funny. She thinks she's having a heart attack. And then she's like, drive me to the hospital. And then that's when Judy said, I can't drive you. And so then she ends up having her son take her, Charlie. And Charlie starts like teasing his mom with his hands while she's still tripping.
So funny.
It goes on. And even at the hospital, Jen is still tripping and everybody's saying to her,
what kind of drugs are you on?
Yeah, exactly. And then that's where she finds out she's pregnant.
Yeah.
Which is, it's just the whole segment is so funny. Side note, she's taking shrooms. She's drinking all the time. She's taking all these things and she's pregnant.
I know.
So I just think
and she's not just newly pregnant. I don't know if you remember, but earlier she had talked about menopause. She's 4 months pregnant. I'm like, oh, but like you said, she said, I'm 100 years old. She didn't think there was any way in chance in heck that she's ever going to be pregnant. So that was pretty funny.
Right.
That was a great moment.
It was. All right. So why do you think this whole series worked? Because I really do think it did. And everybody loves this show.
To me, it's really showing how a dysfunctional family really is, friendships that are real in real life. This is how it is. You mean, it might not be set for TV and screen, but that's how it is. There's sorrow, there's love, there's loss. And the story shows all of that and more. So that's really, it was just a perfect series for me. What did you love about it, all in all?
The idea that they find themselves in these outrageous situations, killing people and hiding it. If in real life you would be like, turn this person in. What are you doing? But in this comedic show series, it's fun to watch, right? Because you're like, oh, how are they going to get away with this? And you want them to get away with it, which is hilarious. And so I think, and the fact that they can pull it off and things work in their favor, it's just like magic. It's just, it's great. And I love that. And we talked about the cast, we talked about the writing, and I think that's why it works. The acting is phenomenal. Please give them Emmys. They all deserve it.
Well deserved.
And, and the fact that it tackles all these subjects that we've covered. And I do also want to mention, I love that they started and they ended with this grief circle. I just thought that was a really good way to start it and end it. And how she has the baby there. Yeah. And she named her Joey. I think it was. So that was just really cute.
That was super cute.
The best thing, it's about friendship. And we all have friendships. And so to get through life, get you through whatever it is, you got to have that friendship because that's the most important thing.
Agreed.
And so it'll help you get through anything that you need to get through.
Absolutely. 100%.
Love that.
Great series. If you haven't watched it, you need to.
Check out Dead to Me if you haven't. You've had all the spoilers, so you might as well just go watch it now. All right, Debbie. That wraps up our conversation on Dead to Me. I was going to say The Walking Dead. Isn't that funny?
Oh, my goodness.
But Dead to Me.
Is that still on your mind, The Walking Dead? Do you
I guess so. Probably because it has the word dead in there, too.
Yeah.
So, but I would love to know, do you have any holiday favorites or have you seen any holiday movies that you would like to recommend?
Absolutely. If you haven't seen Spirited, I just saw that over the Thanksgiving holiday. I went to visit my friend Susan, and her and her daughter watched it. It's so cute with Ryan Reynolds, Will Ferrell, and many others. And it's a musical, and it's loosely based on Scrooge, of course. Have you seen it yet, Diana?
Yes, I did.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Isn't it great?
It is. They're so good. The singing and dancing are like amazing. I had
Amazing.
mentioned that I felt like this could be a production, like a show you go and see, a live show. It's so good.
Yes, it's so good. So 5 stars. Last night I just watched the movie Amsterdam. It's on HBO with Margot Robbie.
Oh, I haven't seen this.
Christian Bale, who's one of my very favorite actors. John David Washington, who I don't know, but he's amazing. Robert De Niro's in it.
Wow.
Anya Taylor-Joy is in it.
Wow.
Rami Malek is in it. There's
crap,
so many people. So why I loved it.
John David Washington is Denzel's son.
Is that him?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. He's amazing. So I'm not going to tell you too much about it because if you haven't seen it, you need to go see it.
I haven't, but what's the basic, like, what's the, just in a line, what's
they meet in Amsterdam, these 3 people, Christian Bale, Margot Robbie, and John David. They meet in Amsterdam during military wartime and become friends. I'm not going to tell you anything other than that.
Oh.
So it's an odd story. And I wanted to look before I shared it. I wanted to look and see who was the writer and director. Because it was so well done. Again, you have to pay attention when you watch it. We watched it and had to rewind it like 4 or 5 times because I missed stuff. And it was just such a trippy, interesting movie. I'm not going to give too much away about it, but definitely put it on your list. TV shows. Honestly, I'm watching FireFly Lane 2. So I'm not starting anything else right now, but during the holiday season, I was recommended to watch The Peripheral, which is on Amazon Prime. I'm in the middle of that. Have you seen that yet?
No.
Oh, you have to add this onto your list. So it's a trip. It's taking virtual reality and time travel into a whole new look. And it stars Chloe Grace Moritz. And then I don't know who plays her brother in it, but it's really a trippy show. And it kind of makes you think, oh my goodness, is this what the future's going to be like? To a whole new level. So those are a couple that I'm watching. And I know we talked about FireFly Lane. You're watching that as well, right? Or you finished it?
Yeah. No, I haven't finished season 2 yet.
Okay.
So I loved season 1. I thought it was really great. This is on Netflix for anyone who hasn't watched it. And now I'm on season 2. So I can't wait to continue watching it. Have you finished it, Debbie?
No, I haven't.
Okay, cool. All right. So
we'll connect
keep in
when
touch.
we do. Yes.
Yeah. I wanted to watch a holiday movie. I just did because, of course, we're in the holidays and I have so many old ones that I love, recommend. And I do want to say one thing. Okay. So I recently went to New York City and me and my friend Michelle went and we went to the Plaza because we wanted to be where Home Alone, where he went in Home Alone 2. And so we're like, oh, let's go to the Plaza. So we went to the Plaza. We had a nice drink there.
Is it beautiful there? Yes.
It's beautifully decorated. So anyways, there's a lot of holiday movies out that I love. Christmas Vacation and just, there's so many. But I wanted to watch a new one. And I watched Noel Diary. It's on Netflix. It's with Justin Hartley.
Love him.
And it's a nice movie. It's light.
Okay.
I mean, it is a romantic one. And so it's cute. It's a cute film. So if you're looking for something to just watch that's not based on, because a lot of these stories are recreated and they just spin it, right? But this is a little bit different. He's a writer who his mother recently passed away. So he goes home and he finds this diary of someone who lived in the house with them. And it just explores that. And it's a little bit of a road trip in a way too, with this other woman that is introduced. So it's a nice movie. So I would recommend for anyone to watch it who just wants to
something light and fun.
Yeah, to watch. Now, when I was on my trip home from New York, of course, got to watch something to have
for the
time
4.5, 5 hour flight or whatever it is.
And so My friend Michelle had said, "Hey, have you seen Bad Moms Christmas?" I said, "No." She goes, "Oh my God, you have to watch it. It's so funny." So of course I put it on. It's with Catherine Hahn, Mila Kunis. It's been out for a while, I know, but I'm behind on this.
It's so good,
Kristen
though.
Bell, Susan Sarandon, Christine Baranski, and Justin Hartley is here too. So it's funny that I've seen 2 movies with him recently. And yes, I watched This Is Us, and we do have a podcast episode on that. So go watch that for anyone who has watched This Is Us. Anyway, it was a fun movie to watch at Christmas time. So those are my Christmas recommendations for now. I do want to thank you, Debbie, for joining me today and your recommendations. I appreciate them so much. And I can't wait to watch some of the ones that you've recommended here.
Well, I appreciate your invite and I enjoyed myself tremendously. And I hope that everybody had a great time listening to us. So thank you.
Yeah, I know. I want to thank everybody that has joined us and is listening to this podcast episode. I want to wish you happy holidays. I hope you all stay safe and healthy and just do what brings you joy. This, I believe, is the last episode of 2022. And so we'll be coming to you with new content in 2023. I may change it up a little bit. So if there's anything you truly enjoy or would like to see more of, I really encourage you to reach out to me at screensinfocus@gmail.com. Or you can go to our website and connect with me there or through social media. I would love to hear from you. That's our show. Thanks for tuning in. We are grateful you tuned in, and we hope something that we said today resonated with you, gave you a chuckle, some happiness, some positivity, or inspiration. Please subscribe to our website and follow Screens in Focus and tell a friend. We would love more members of our TV club. You can rate and review the podcast on Apple, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. This will help other listeners find us. We'll be back in the new year. You can find our website listed in our show notes. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye, everybody.